What if everything you believed about American citizenship was wrong? What if that blue passport in your drawer, that certificate on your wall, even decades of living as an American, could vanish overnight? I'm John from Dream Visa Updates, and what I'm about to share with you isn't speculation or fear-mongering. It's happening right now, and if you're one of the 26 million naturalized citizens in America, especially if you're Indian American, the next few minutes could be the most important information you hear all year. Welcome back to Dream Visa Updates, where we cut through the noise and bring you the truth about American immigration. I'm John, and today we're talking about something that's sending waves of panic through immigrant communities nationwide. We're talking about denaturalization, the government's power to strip away your American citizenship, and here's what nobody's telling you. Under the current administration, this isn't some rare legal procedure anymore. It's becoming a targeted enforcement machine with monthly quotas that could potentially impact hundreds of thousands of families. So if you or anyone you love is a naturalized citizen, don't click away. Hit that subscribe button right now, smash the notification bell, because this information could literally save your citizenship. Let's dive in. Picture this. You're sitting at home, maybe having coffee, scrolling through your phone when there's a knock at your door. It's an immigration officer, and the words they say next will shatter everything you thought you knew about being American. This isn't a hypothetical scenario. This is the new reality for naturalized citizens in 2026. The Trump administration has made immigration enforcement the centerpiece of its agenda. But what's happening now goes way beyond border walls and visa restrictions. This isn't about who gets into America anymore. Listen carefully. This is about who gets to stay American. And that difference is absolutely everything. I've obtained information about internal guidance circulating within USCIS, the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. And what I've found is genuinely shocking. There's a directive that fundamentally rewrites how denaturalization will work in fiscal year 2026. The document explicitly orders immigration field offices across every state to identify between 100 and 200 cases every single month that could qualify for denaturalization proceedings. Every month, let that sink in. These cases get referred straight to the Department of Justice for prosecution. Now let me give you some context that'll blow your mind. From 2017 until recently, roughly an 8-year period, only about 120 denaturalization cases were filed in the entire United States. That's about 15 cases per year. 15. But under this new guidance, we're looking at a minimum of 200 cases annually. That's not a typo. That's an 80-fold increase. And if offices hit that upper target of 200 cases per month, we're talking about 2,400 cases every single year. This is an exponential explosion of a process that federal law designed to be extraordinarily rare. So what exactly is denaturalization? Let me break down the legal framework, because understanding this could save your citizenship. Under United States federal law, American citizenship, once granted, is supposed to be virtually permanent. It's supposed to be ironclad. The law says citizenship can only be revoked under very narrow circumstances. You had to have committed fraud during your naturalization process or fall into a few other tightly defined legal categories. Maybe you concealed material facts on your application. Maybe you willfully misrepresented information. Maybe you obtained citizenship through illegal means. The critical word here is fraud. There has to be intentional deception, not mistakes, not errors, not memory lapses, intentional fraud. But here's where everything goes off the rails, and this is what has immigration attorneys, civil rights groups, and even former immigration officials absolutely terrified. When you impose monthly quotas on a process that's supposed to be rare and reserved only for the worst cases of fraud, you completely destroy the system's integrity. Think about it. Immigration field offices now have targets to meet. They need to find 100 to 200 cases every single month. When you're working under that kind of pressure, when your job performance is measured by how many cases you can identify, what happens? The bar for what qualifies as fraud inevitably gets lowered. Minor discrepancies suddenly become major offenses. Honest mistakes made 20 years ago transform into grounds for destroying someone's entire life. Former U.S. immigration officials have gone on record expressing deep alarm about this shift, and their concerns are chilling. They point out that many naturalization applications were filed 10, 15, 20, even 30 years ago. Think about who filled out those applications. People working in their second or third language. People navigating impossibly complex bureaucratic systems without lawyers, people trying to remember dates, addresses, jobs, trips from years earlier. They made mistakes. Of course they made mistakes. Anyone would. Maybe you got a date wrong. Maybe you forgot to list a short business trip. Maybe you listed 3 trips abroad when there were actually 4. Maybe your employment dates overlapped in a confusing way. Under the old system, these errors might have been overlooked or corrected through routine procedures. But now these could be reclassified as fraud. Now these could be the reason you lose everything. Let me paint you a scenario. You're an immigrant from India who came to America in the year 2000. You did everything right, everything legal. You got your work visa, you obtained your green card, You waited the mandatory 5 years. You studied American history and government for that citizenship test. You stood in that ceremony, hand over your heart, and took the oath of allegiance. In 2008, you became an American citizen. Fast forward to today. You've been living as an American for 17 years. You've paid every dollar in taxes. You've raised your children here, kids who were born American. You've built a career. You bought a home. You voted in elections. You volunteered in your community. You lived the American dream. And then one day, an immigration officer reviewing old files spots something. On your original naturalization application from 2008, you listed 3 trips outside the United States, but records show there were actually 4. Maybe you forgot a quick business trip to Canada, maybe you miscounted, maybe the dates overlapped and confused you. It doesn't matter. Under the old system, this would never even register as an issue, but under a quota system where officers are pressured to identify hundreds of potential denaturalization cases every month, this becomes material misrepresentation. This becomes the basis for stripping away your citizenship, your right to stay in America, your ability to remain with your family. Everything you built, gone. Now the Trump administration is completely unapologetic about this approach. Official statements from USCIS emphasize that the agency will aggressively prioritize denaturalization efforts. Government officials defend this as restoring integrity to the immigration system. They say it's about rooting out fraud, identifying gang members, finding financial criminals, exposing cartel connections, removing violent offenders who should never have gotten citizenship in the first place. The Department of Justice has backed this up with its own directives. Prosecutors nationwide have been instructed to, and I quote, maximally pursue denaturalization proceedings wherever the law potentially allows. That phrase, maximally pursue, should terrify you. It means aggressive, it means proactive. It means prosecutors should be hunting for opportunities to denaturalize people, not just responding to clear-cut fraud cases. Here's what you need to understand. This denaturalization push doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a massive immigration enforcement strategy unfolding since Trump's second term began. We've seen dramatic tightening of asylum rules, a complete pause on asylum applications being processed domestically, sweeping restrictions on entry for people from predominantly African and West Asian nations. The administration announced what they call a permanent pause on third world migration, specifically naming Afghanistan, Haiti, and Somalia. But here's the crucial difference that changes everything. All those previous measures targeted people trying to enter the United States. Border control, visa restrictions, who gets to come to America. This denaturalization campaign is fundamentally different. This isn't about people at the border. This isn't about asylum seekers. This isn't about undocumented immigrants. This is about naturalized American citizens, people who already completed the entire legal process, people who already swore allegiance to the United States, people who already have their citizenship certificates and American passports. The target has shifted from those seeking to become American to those who already are American. Let that sink in. The numbers are staggering. There are currently 26 million naturalized Americans living in the United States, 26 million people born in other countries who went through the legal process and became citizens. And naturalization has been accelerating. Last year alone, more than 800,000 new citizens were sworn in. Nearly 1 million people who took that oath, received their certificates, believed they'd achieved the American dream. And here's where this hits home for so many of you watching right now. After Mexico, which is the largest source country for naturalized citizens, India ranks second. In 2024, nearly 50,000 Indian-born immigrants became American citizens. That's more than 6% of all naturalizations nationwide. The Indian-American community, one of the most successful and integrated immigrant communities in America, is now among the most statistically exposed to this policy. Think about what this means. Millions of people from India came on H-1B visas. They worked in technology, medicine, engineering, business, academia. They followed every single rule, paid every fee, waited through every delay. Many waited 10 or 15 years for green cards because of country-specific backlogs. They raised children born as American citizens. They bought homes, started businesses, gave back to their communities. After finally obtaining citizenship, often after 20 years or more in America, they believed their status was secure. They believed citizenship meant permanence, safety, home. But now, with these denaturalization quotas in place, there's a terrifying new uncertainty. Immigration attorneys are already seeing panic in immigrant communities. People are asking questions they never imagined they'd need to ask. What if there was a mistake on my naturalization application? What if I forgot to mention something? What if there's a discrepancy between my green card application and my citizenship application? What if my name was spelled differently on different documents? What if I listed my employment history slightly differently across various forms over the years? These questions keep naturalized citizens awake at night now, and the anxiety is particularly intense for people who naturalize as many years ago, because memories fade, old documents disappear, and reconstructing exactly what you wrote on a form 15 years ago becomes impossible, yet that old paperwork could now become the basis for losing everything. Your citizenship, your right to live in America, your family, your career, your entire life. Legal experts warn that combining numerical targets with aggressive prosecution creates what they call a chilling effect. People become afraid to travel internationally because re-entry could trigger scrutiny. People hesitate to apply for government benefits they're legally entitled to because any government interaction feels dangerous. People avoid updating addresses or reporting life changes because every piece of paperwork feels like a potential trap. This fear is toxic to both individual well-being and the fabric of American society itself. There's also a massive question about fairness and equal protection under the law. If immigration offices have quotas to meet, will certain communities be targeted more? Will people from specific countries face disproportionate scrutiny? Will individuals with certain names or backgrounds be more likely to have their old applications dug up and reviewed? These questions don't have clear answers yet, but they demand serious attention and oversight. The implications go way beyond individual cases. This policy broadcasts a message to the entire world about what American citizenship actually means. For generations, American citizenship was the gold standard. Once you became American, you were American. Period. Full stop. Your allegiance was accepted, your status was secure, your rights were protected. But if citizenship can be routinely questioned, investigated, and revoked based on old paperwork, then what does American citizenship really mean anymore? Is it conditional? Is it something that can be snatched away at any moment? Is it something naturalized citizens hold differently than natural-born citizens? Does this create a two-tiered citizenship system where some Americans are more vulnerable than others? These aren't just philosophical questions. They have devastating practical implications for millions of families. Parents terrified about what happens to their American-born children if their own citizenship is revoked. Professionals facing the loss of careers built over decades. Homeowners watching their investments and property rights threatened. Elderly immigrants confronting deportation to countries they left 30 or 40 years ago, countries where they have no remaining connections or support. So here's the bottom line. For the 26 million naturalized Americans living in the United States, particularly for the millions from India and other countries who followed every rule and believed their citizenship was ironclad, the landscape has fundamentally shifted. Your American passport may still be blue, but in 2026, your citizenship is no longer bulletproof. And for many people, that changes absolutely everything. This is a developing story, and here at Dream Visa Updates, we're tracking it closely. We'll bring you updates on legal challenges, individual cases, policy changes, and most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself and your family. If you're a naturalized citizen, now is the time to review your old immigration paperwork, consult with an immigration attorney if anything concerns you, and make sure your documentation is completely in order. If you found this video valuable, give it a thumbs up right now. Share it with everyone you know who might be affected, your friends, your family, your colleagues. The more people who understand what's happening, the better prepared we can be as a community. Subscribe to Dream Visa Updates if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you never miss critical immigration news. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think about these denaturalization policies. Have they affected you or anyone you know? What are your biggest concerns? I read every single comment. Thank you for watching, and remember, stay informed, stay prepared, stay connected. I'm John, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care and God bless America.